Hello and welcome to Norwood News. Today is Friday, April 12th, and I'm your host, Krista McDonald. On Friday of last week, detectives from the Norwood Police Department were wrapping up a warrant for an investigation into the illegal sale of marijuana. The search warrant was executed at the residence of 46 Geraldine Drive.
This case all began with information that the subject who was living there had been selling marijuana. And so after following an investigation by our detectives, they obtained a search warrant and they executed the search warrant on Friday afternoon. They made a safe and peaceful entry. The gentleman who was the subject of the investigation, Andrew Ariglio, who was 29 years old, he was a resident of the home. And we found what we expected to find, which was marijuana and evidence of marijuana distribution that was inside the home, and that was seized. He also had some presses that led us to believe that he may have been trying to extract THC from the marijuana. We also found during the search some firearms, and some of those firearms appeared to not have originally been firearms, but have been converted into firearms using kits. And some of those were without serial numbers. So that led to a number of charges by us that he unlawfully possessed firearms and that he had modified some of the weapons that were in his possession. Specifically that they did not have serial numbers and that a rifle receiver had been modified so that it would fire fully automatic. In other words, like a machine gun. So all of that material was seized by the detectives who used our patrol wagon to transport everything back to the station. He was arrested on multiple charges. He was held over the weekend, initially at the Norwood Police Department, then eventually at the Dedham Jail. He was arraigned on Monday morning. And as we tape this now, he is scheduled for a dangerousness hearing on Thursday, and he's being held at the Dedham Jail pending that hearing. The property does abut the real property of the Cleveland School, and so he was charged with multiple counts of committing these drug offenses while within 300 feet of the real property of a school.
Thanks, Chief, and great work by everyone involved in this investigation. Last Friday night, the Norwood Circle of Hope hosted their biggest fundraiser of the year, Dancing with the Norwood Stars. Over 400 people attended the charity dance competition at the Four Points Sheraton, and hundreds of more were watching at local restaurants around town. 6 local celebrities were chosen to dance and raise money for the Circle of Hope. This year's contestants were Kathy Curran, Jen Murphy-Conley, Mark Saulnier, Tom Follin, our own Brian Boudreau, and Michelle Sheehan. Catherine Curran and Jen Murphy-Conley tied for this year's Judges Award. The fundraising award, which is given to the dancer who raised the most money for the Circle of Hope, went to Michelle Sheehan. We were able to catch up with Michelle after the event.
It feels awesome. It feels like it is something that, something I never really ever imagined. It was a perfect time. My father loves this town. He was a staple in this community. Everyone knew him, everyone loved him, and I originally signed up because of him, and now to win, it means so much, so I'm really, really grateful.
None of this would have been possible without the support each dancer received from their friends and family. Michelle had a large group she wanted to thank.
First and foremost, my husband, and my kids, of course my sister Cindy, her husband Paul, my nephew Chris, who did all the Bruins fundraising for me, my nephew Paul, because he's awesome, and Suzanne, Ellie, all the people that were a part, Allison, Sandra, Sue Bunker, amazing, Marie Gattani, unbelievable, all these, if I'm forgetting anybody, I'm so sorry. So yeah, just amazing.
Congratulations, Michelle, and to all the other contestants. And a big thank you to everyone who donated to the Circle of Hope throughout the process. Stay tuned after this break to see who came back to visit Norwood High School and for this week's Living Local. Welcome back. Monday afternoon, Matt Brown, NHS alum and author of Line Change, returned to Norwood High School to speak to students about his life and living with paralysis. Brown delivered a powerful message of his never quit attitude and trying to stay positive through hard times. For Brown, this speaking experience was something special.
It meant everything coming back to Norwood High and speaking to student body about facing adversity, dealing with change and challenges. Because like I said, wasn't that long ago that we roamed the halls here. So it really meant a lot. Hopefully some of the kids took the messages. But this is going to be something I'll remember for a long, long time.
Matt always delivers a message through his speeches, and this one was no different.
So 2 things, facing adversity, it can challenge you. The biggest thing is that you don't have to go through it alone. The second is that change can happen, and change can happen in an instant. And when that happens, it's going to be difficult, but you don't got to go through it alone. The biggest thing is to be there to support one another, and don't be afraid to ask people for help when you need it.
Thanks, Matt. You are truly an inspiration. The Norwood Space Center hosts no shortage of creative and artistic talents. Emma Davidson is an artist that uses her travel experience to inspire her craft. Here she is in her own words in this week's Living Local.
I'm a fine artist, illustrator, printmaker. I come here every day to create and just make beautiful things for the world.
Emma Davidson is one of many independent artists you can find here at the Space Center on 83 Morse Street in Norwood. Her work consists of collections drawn from inspiration of travel and the outdoors.
I lived in Juneau, Alaska for a year, and that was really exciting. I was there for work, and I feel like after leaving there, I just have endless amounts of inspiration. So I really enjoy being in the outdoors. It was a big part of how I grew up, and it definitely is a big part of my adult life. I love the Pacific Northwest and just hanging out in the woods there. Any time spent amongst the trees or the mountains is never lost time for me.
For Emma, working in Norwood has been a unique experience, one you may not find in places alike.
It's really starting to come together. There's a really nice community that's forming. It's nice too. I grew up in Sharon. I'm from this area. It's great to have a place like this that supports the arts outside of Boston.
Currently, Emma's projects have been about the simplicities, getting back to basics.
Currently, I am obsessed with pencil, going back to basics. I think it just creates such a nice feel on the paper, and when I am drawing from my past or dreaming about my future, I think that the pencil just leads so much to being able to express those images. Any type of animal I've come in contact with, I think it's so important to recognize it and how it's connected to us and the world we live in.
With many other workers calling the Space Center their home, Emma enjoys the connection she's made at the Norwood Space Center.
Through Open Studio that we've been having here at the Space Center, I've gotten to know a lot of really great Norwood locals, which is really exciting. And it's amazing how art can connect you. So I have Facebook, Instagram, website. Art and Emma is my business name. So on Instagram, Art and Emma, and my website is www.artandemma.com. And same with my Facebook page, Art and Emma.
Stay tuned after this break to find out what is happening in your local government.
Your home for all things Norwood, online at norwoodcommunitymedia.org.
Welcome back to Norwood News. Saturday, April 6th was a joint meeting between the Board of Selectmen, the School Committee, and the Finance Commission in the Police and Fire Community Room. Town Manager Tony Mizuko walked the 3 committees through a draft of town-wide financial policies, as well as the drafted Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, in the event of an operational override passing via town vote. One topic that was disputed amongst the committees was the maximum 3.5% budget increase implications. School Committee member Teresa Stewart voices her concerns.
If you look at the data and you look at the trends, it's increasing. So does this sound great today? Yeah. Can I promise it's going to be this next year or the year after or the next 5 years when I may not even be on the school committee? Because this is a MOU we're putting in place for a while. I can't promise that, and I need this town to understand it is not okay to continuously sacrifice our students. And if special ed goes up, It's mandated. We have to cover it. We should cover it. I'm not arguing that. What I'm having a hard time with is it's really inequitable to then say that if special ed went up more than 3.5%, the school budget shall be decreased by the difference, because we're then talking about every other student in general ed. So if that is really truly what everybody in this room feels is okay, I would like you to tell me why that's okay.
The committee ultimately decided it was best to rewrite language to make a more inclusive statement on the matter.
All right, so if you say beginning in FY21, the town's non-utility operating budget increases shall be capped at 3.5% per year, and I would remove the parentheses, by the way, it's the old English teacher, it's not a parenthetical statement, subject to availability of funds, period.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a bureaucratic thing to say, well, it's a parentheses, it's not really part of
So
it.
that's it for number 2. We're not going,
That's
we're
what-
not
that's what
taking
Kelly's
in the rest of
proposing.
that.
That's my
statement.
recommendation.
The meeting ended with Selectman Chair Paul Bishop thanking the committees for taking the time to meet on Saturday. The Finance Commission met on Monday, April 8th. The committee reviewed the outline and costs of certain town projects. The committee postponed voting on the budget, financial policies, override MOU, and combined facilities until next week. The Finance Commission will meet Thursday, April 18th at Norwood High School. On Monday, the Planning Board discussed their concerns about a requirement to provide an off-site parking agreement with the Boston Skating Club for their special events throughout the year.
Their projection on parking demand was that during the normal day-to-day activities, at the very most, they would need 400 parking spaces on site, and that would handle, I think, some small events. But the larger events, which they told us would probably be between 6 and 8 a year, they will need additional parking. The zoning bylaw required 500 additional parking spaces to meet the parking requirements for the facility. And so what we recalled during the hearing process was representation that they would talk to the neighboring property owners and try to secure written parking agreements for the 6 or 8 times a year when they have their special events. The board saw this as a good compromise. We did not want to see an additional 500 parking spaces constructed on site because of the environmental issues associated with clearing and grading. And
The Boston Skating Club informed the board that they have been talking with the MBTA to reach an agreement for additional parking at their location for special events. BSC would shuttle people from the parking lot to the club and back during these special events that occur 6 to 8 times a year. The board voted to move forward with the construction, but would like the BSC to continue to solidify an agreement for additional parking. In celebration of Earth Week, the Board of Selectmen met with John Apria and Katie Neal Rizzo of Progress Norwood and Ariana Shara, member of NHS Environmental Youth Coalition. The group discussed the program for this year's Earth Day and the progress they have made since last year.
And then Saturday, we're also trying to collaborate currently with the Conservation Commission and the Neponset River Watershed Association to do a cleanup of Hawes Brook. We are going to meet with them next week.
17th.
To finalize the plans for that. And then Sunday is the big day. We have a few different events lined up. We have free yoga on the Common from 8 to 8:45 with a woman who's in Progress Norwood that's a certified yoga instructor. That's just a nice way to get ready for the day. And then 9:30 to 11, we're going to have the Earth Day cleanup at a number of different sites across town. We have 2 new sites this year. And then at the same time, there's going to be plogging with Charles River Running.
Later, the selectmen discussed a letter from Finance Commissioner Chair Alan Slater. FinCom requested the establishment of a new stabilization account for larger than normal capital items such as fire trucks. The board denied the request to add the article to the annual town meeting warrant.
Mr. Chair?
Comment. Go ahead.
Totally opposed. Totally opposed. I just see this is another way to reduce the amount of free cash that we have, which nowadays is next to nothing anyways, the way people are rating it.
I'm opposed to the idea and concept as well. I'd be happy to support putting it on a warrant in the future and let town meeting have a conversation about it, and I'll live with whatever the result is. But I think at the upcoming annual, I think anyway, we're trying to keep it as uncluttered as possible.
I support at least going on the warrant. I mean, last week when I brought it up, you didn't want it on the special town meeting warrant. You said bring it up next week to put it on the annual. Now that we're discussing the annual, no one wants to put it on the annual. I still think that you should allow town meeting members to decide, and I can.
Last week I supported this. I thought it was a good idea, but I don't think the timing is correct right now. Here we are within minutes of signing off on the town meeting warrant, and we're going to slip something in. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye, opposed.
The vote is 4-1, one in opposition.
The Library Board of Trustees met this past Tuesday on the 3rd floor of the Morrill Memorial Library. The near-hour meeting consisted of an announcement of a new $30,000 grant for the library, as well as discussions on art exhibits and how Norwood can improve in their efforts in this particular area. The trustees will meet again in the coming weeks. Wednesday afternoon, the Airport Commission met to file a number of topics and receive a project update before entering into executive session. Representatives from Dubose and King opened the meeting with an AIP project update. Following the update, Airport Manager Russ McGuire delivered his manager's report. The Commission then discussed a few topics before entering into executive session. The next Airport Commission meeting will be held on Tuesday, April 30th at the Police and Fire Community Room. Wednesday night, the Community Preservation Committee met to discuss the upcoming town meeting in May. After covering the summer schedule and Norwood Day agenda items, the committee began their discussion on May's town meeting. The majority of the conversation focused on the town meeting presentation. The meeting wrapped up with a financial review. The next meeting for the CPC will be May 8th. The school committee met at the Savage Center this past Wednesday and has had some special guests as high school students from Norwood High opened the meeting as part of the Student Government Day program. The students chose topics to discuss and consumed about 20 minutes of the meeting discussing the override from a student's perspective. Once the student portion adjourned, the committee reopened discussions from previous meetings, including the Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, and future pay-to-play procedures for athletics and activities if the override fails. Recreation Superintendent Travis Farley was in attendance, along with Norwood Girls Youth Lacrosse President Michael Lodge, to announce the building of a new recreational wall for youth sports and activities that will be built on the old track behind the middle school. In regards to the funding, Mr. Lodge revealed a pleasant surprise.
What we're proposing is something that's about 30 to 40 feet long. Started thinking about it. It's a wall. How expensive can it be? So talked to Travis, and he looked at me and he said, you know what, Mike, I don't have any money in the budget for this. So I was kind of like, all right, left a little discouraged. And Travis just said to me, he said, how did you pull this off? And I just said, you never know who you're talking to. I shoot my mouth off until somebody listens. So we came across a company, there's a family in town that works for a company called Delbrook JKS. They are a builder. They've built TB12 up at Gillette Stadium, buildings up at Bridgewater State. They've done a lot of big projects. So about 2 months after you and I talked, I get a text that they have the entire project covered, a $50,000 to $60,000 wall for free. They're going to cover the whole thing.
In other news, the committee welcomed its newest elected member, Joan Giblin, and Teresa Stewart has assumed the role of vice chairperson. The school committee will reconvene after April break on the 27th. Wednesday night, the town hosted a Town Meeting 101 presentation in the auditorium at the high school. The meeting reviewed how town meeting works and the roles and responsibilities of a town meeting member. Representatives from the Board of Selectmen, Finance Commission, and various town departments presented throughout the night. The town will hold upcoming informational sessions on town meeting, town finances, the override, and the town budget. To watch complete government coverage, tune into the NCM Government channel or watch it on demand at norwoodcommunitymedia.org. Stay tuned after this break to find out what is happening in your schools.
Living Local is a new program coming to Norwood Community Media that highlights businesses and events here in Norwood. Everything you need to know about eating local, shopping local, exercising local, or even creating local, you'll find it right here on NCM's newest program, Living Local. You'll get an inside look into what makes each business unique. Only on Norwood Community Media, your home for all things Norwood.
Welcome back. Now we're going to toss it over to our good friend Tim Rose, who is going to fill us in on all the news around the school district.
Hi guys, I'm Tim Rose, and let's take a look at some activities happening in our Norwood schools this week. The Cleveland School participated in the Kids Heart Challenge. This is designed to educate students about heart health and to help raise funds in support of the American Heart Association. Students had a great time testing their jumping skills and shooting baskets. It was a fun and educational experience for everyone. The Cleveland School raised over $1,700 for the American Heart Association and thanks you for your support. April is Autism Awareness Month. The Cleveland School Pragmatic Learning Centers provided resources and activities to promote understanding and acceptance. The Obi-Wan Kenobis won the Cleveland School's annual 5th grade March Madness tournament. 6 teams comprising 45 players competed in a series of weekly basketball games. Abby Curran captained the winning team. Principal Nancy Coppola returned as coach and ref, while Leah McGurty served as scorekeeper. Stand, sit, kneel, or rock. Yes, the students at the Callahan do just that. With the assistance of the PTA, classrooms have been transformed from just desks and chairs to an arrangement of flexible seating options, and the feedback from students has been overwhelmingly positive. Students can stand with peers at the standing desks, rock gently with wobble stools, or get comfortable in a beanbag chair. In addition, the use of technology has expanded greatly with Chromebooks, iPads, and the smartboard. In Norwood High School news, Wednesday was Student Government Day. For more on this, let's go to the community room at the police fire station.
And it's a 40-year tradition in the town, and it's very unique to Norwood, where we have students at the high school, they get elected to different positions, they then come to town and they spend time with those boards or with those department heads learning about what they do. They do that for the first part of the morning, then they go into what we call town meeting or Student Government Day town meeting, where they actually take on the role of a town meeting member and debate issues before the town. What we did this year that we did last year is we raised $1,000 from elected officials and from department heads in town, and we let the students actually debate on how they want to spend that money. They did a great job. They actually allocated the whole $1,000. There's some money going to the senior center, there's some money going for flu shots, some money going to the Model UN Club. So this is real money that we raise, that as we go and spend that money, we keep the students in the loop as to what they're doing and where the money is actually going. So the students did great today. I think they learned a lot. I think we're gearing up to have them be good citizens in the future, and they're learning about how town government operates.
I can definitely say that I learned a lot about the general manager position. I learned that they are like the de facto mayor of the town, and that they are in charge of managing the town. They're in charge of making sure the town runs smoothly, that the town is running as effectively as possible. But I also learned the value of public service.
Town government is the simplest form of government, but it does affect us on a daily level much more than any other form of government does. And I just think that's the most important part of it, and I definitely have a much more appreciation for everything that happened today, and all the work that goes into anyone that is in with town government, pretty much.
This is a great hands-on field trip and a real-life lesson for students to learn how the town is run. At the Balch School, the STEM Club set up their indoor tower garden. We will be following the process to see how things grow. At the Coakley Middle School, the Student Council held its annual Spirit Week to raise money for the Jimmy Fund. They were having a hoedown on Country and Western Day, and on Tropical Day in the cafe, the 6th graders were ready for a beach party. Here, some of the teachers are showing off their beach styles. Thursday was Twin Day, and they combined it with a great positive sign Thursday. Even the secretaries, who are usually camera shy, got into Spirit Week. 100% of the donations for Spirit Week go to the Jimmy Fund, which is an organization that raises funds for adult and pediatric cancer care and researches to improve the chances of survival for cancer patients around the world. Great job, CMS! The children at Little Mustangs Preschool were really learning something that they could sink their teeth into this week. Dental hygienist Miss Erica from Dr. Stone's office came in to visit all of the preschool classes to show them how easy it is to get their teeth cleaned. She brought in her furry friend Flossie and showed the children how important it is to brush their teeth 2 times a day and to make sure they brush the outside, inside, and tops. She also let some of the children touch some of the important tools she uses in the office to familiarize the children with some of these instruments to alleviate some of the jitters that some children may feel when visiting the dentist. A case of Fenway fever was also reported at the preschool. Students celebrated Red Sox opening day at Fenway by playing some letter and sound games with mini baseball helmets, baseball crafts, baseball memory games, and participated in a game of t-ball in their indoor play space. Wally the Green Monster even made an appearance. While the Red Sox did not win their first game at Fenway, it did not dampen the spirits of these little Red Sox fans. The Prescott community was happy to host Dr. Thompson for his coffee with the superintendent this week. Dr. Thompson discussed the 5-year strategic plan, answered questions from community members, parents, and teachers, and gave an overview of priorities for the coming months. Also at the Prescott, the 4th and 5th grade students have started the MCAS. Students have been working hard by getting a good night's sleep, eating a healthy breakfast, and practicing mindfulness before and after the test. Well, that's it for school news. Next week is April vacation, and I want to wish the teachers and students some great spring weather for their week off. For more information about the Norwood school system, please check the website, Facebook, and watch Norwood Community Media. Now let's send it over to Brian Dunn with the latest sports news.
Thanks, Tim. Hello, everybody, and welcome into the sports update for this week. It's been a busy week in the sports world, and teams are getting familiar with their new Tri-Valley League spring opponents. Let's take you around the league and find out what went down in sports. We start off in the gym where the volleyball team had a non-league matchup against the Randolph Blue Devils. A competitive Norwood team got some great looks on the defensive side, but a powerful front presence by Randolph was too much to overcome, as the Mustangs fall to Randolph in straight sets. Over on the turf, the girls lacrosse team ran into a very strong Holliston Panthers program. The Mustangs struggled to maintain offense, but stayed aggressive on the attack nonetheless, as you can see here. The Mustangs lose to Holliston, but look to bounce back at another TVL matchup against Ashland this week. Softball opened up their season this week against the Medfield Warriors. One element the Mustangs have perfected over the years is base running, and it was on full display in this matchup. The opening run for the Mustangs was a result of good base running, and Norwood used that momentum to propel to a 10-5 opening day victory over Medfield. On the other diamond, the Mustangs are still on the hunt for the first win of the year, as a competitive matchup resulted in Medfield edging the Mustangs 7-4 on the road. They will face Holliston in the next matchup. Speaking of Holliston, boys lacrosse took a trip there and ultimately were defeated in the TVL contest. A close matchup was a good test for the Mustangs as they come home to prepare for Ashland in their next game. Track and field fell well against the Clockers in their meet this week. The boys came away with a total victory while the girls were defeated. However, some great placements overall and a good showing for the Mustangs. Boys tennis took on Dedham this past Thursday. After falling to Medfield the day before, Norwood grabs their first win of the season 4-1. Girls tennis, however, could not overcome the Marauders as they fall to Dedham 4-1. And we conclude this week with an alumni spotlight over at SNAQ softball, where Erin Garzinski captured the Northeast 10 Conference Player of the Week. Her second time claiming the title this season, and we hope it isn't the last. Keep up the good work, Erin. And that's all I have for sports this week. As always, for scores and updates, you can follow NCM on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you, and I'll see you next week. Back to you, Kristen.
Thanks, Brian. Moving to a new town can be a stressful task. The Norwood Memorial Library understands this, and every year the library hosts Norwood 101, a night for residents who made the move to Norwood within the past year and are looking to find out what resources are available in town.
This is our third annual Norwood 101, which is an absolutely wonderful event when we gather all the town officials and the town departments, all the nonprofits, all of our library staff departments, and we invite all of the people who have moved to Norwood within the last year. And it's just a terrific event, and people love learning more about everything that they don't really get to know in their new home.
Technical Services Librarian Patty Bailey explains how she came up with the concept of Norwood 101.
Norwood 101 was a program that I duplicated from a library in Wakefield. When my daughter moved to Wakefield, that library held this new resident program, and I approached Charlotte to see if we could perhaps run this program in the town of Norwood.
The event was a success, with many new residents taking advantage of the opportunity to learn about all the resources available right here in Norwood. This past Thursday, Stop and Shop employees, as well as employees of surrounding branches, participated in a worker strike that started in the early afternoon. Employees held signs displayed at the entrances of both the store and the parking lot, and the store was closed during the event. Norwood is proud to welcome home U.S. Army Reservist Joe Mon of the Norwood Fire Department. As of Wednesday morning, Joe is officially back in the firehouse after serving 9 months on active duty for the Army Reserve 344th MP Company. He's ready to get back into the job, this time as lieutenant.
Today is my first day back to work, and while I was gone, I was promoted to lieutenant here in the fire department. I'm very excited. I'm fortunate enough that I was able to come back to the same group that I have been working on my entire career here. I feel not to be biased, but I'm working for the best captain in the department, Captain Boylan. He's always been very good to me, and I'm excited to be under his mentorship.
Joe's family, colleagues, and town leaders welcomed him home with warm regards at his pinning ceremony. Chief Maurice brought in Joe's father, who proudly appointed the new lieutenant.
So today he officially starts his return to the Norwood Fire Department as an officer for the town of Norwood. So what I'd like to do is have Joe's father come over here and pin the badge on soon to be Lieutenant Mon.
Congratulations, I caught one.
Congratulations on your promotion, Joe, and welcome home. Thank you so much for your service. Next, the fire department itself was formally recognized by the military for outstanding service. John Pelosi, from the employer support of the Guard and Reserve, presented Chief Maurice, former Chief Greeley, an award for exceptional treatment for active duty reserve personnel. Mon penned the nomination for the department, so it was only fitting that he passed the award on to the chief himself.
The soldiers that I work with in the Army Reserve are often harassed by their civilian employers. It's disgraceful, actually. Since I've re-enlisted in the reserves here in the fire department, the town, all of the chiefs, Chief Greeley on my last deployment, and right following with Chief Maurice has been nothing but supporting, helpful. I've never got a question or a demand as to when I'm going to be back. They've always said, let us know, you take the time that you need, you let us know when you feel it's time to come back. And that makes going to do my reserve job very, very simple. And I could never express my appreciation. So this is how we do it. So John, thank you for coming out and doing that. Chief, thank you very much
Lieutenant,
for your support.
Thank you.
Veterans agent for the town, Teddy Mulvihill, shared a message of thanks for Joe.
All of us veterans across the Commonwealth and across the town of Norwood, Staff Sergeant, Lieutenant Joe, congratulations on your service to your nation and to your town, and welcome home.
Best of luck in your new position, Lieutenant Mon, and again, welcome home. Well, that's all for Norwood News. To stay up to date with Norwood Community Media, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend.